Hello and welcome to Find, Tell, Share, the Storytellers podcast. My name is Jemma Rosenthal. I'm a creativity coach and a singer, and I help people to find their voices. And this is
Chris Sissons. My business is called Market Together. I specialise in using stories to help people market their businesses, develop their businesses, and find the real work that only they can do. And today I'm delighted to introduce our guest, who is James Dand. James is the UK's leading empowerment songwriter, writing music specifically for personal development to help people to unleash their inner power. He's already He's had around 2 decades experience working with thousands of people as a university lecturer and coach, and he's also an international speaker, a contributing author of a best-selling book, and has been commissioned to create music for multi-million-dollar companies, best-selling authors, and international speakers. His aim is to use transformational music within experiential training courses to help personal development enthusiasts become committed and empowered to achieve more so that they have a positive impact on the world. So welcome, James.
Oh. Thank you ever so much, Chris. Thank you.
And I'm not quite sure that I fully understand. How do you use transformational music within an experiential training course? What does that actually mean in practice? If somebody comes along, what happens?
It was a bit wordy, wasn't it, that bio? So apologies for that. Yeah, so basically, I suppose the background comes from, I'm a songwriter myself, but also I've attended lots of personal development courses. And the courses, or in particular the activities that have had the greatest benefit on me, have all used music. So there's certain activities we've done. Some have been about facing your fears. Other things have been just, words we're saying. Certain activities have been a range of activities, but they've all used certain types of music to create certain emotions, change our state, etc., and allow things like words to go deeper into our subconscious mind. So they've really had a big impact on me. And what I'm basically doing and going more into now is combining my two gifts, if you say, or passions. One is the music, the creating music, and the other is my background in speaking and training, combining them together to create personal development events that will involve music and basically take people through a transformation. Yeah. I don't know if that makes it a little bit easier for you to understand, or whether you're still a little bit in the dark about it.
And presumably that connection between music and personal development is something that others experience. You find that many people experience, because the thing that comes to my mind is the loss, even pre-pandemic, of opportunities to sing with other people. For example, obvious examples of football matches, church services, demonstrations, perhaps. And they are opportunities for people to sort of unite their voices. And is that something to do with what you experience in your personal development?
It can be, yeah, absolutely. Certainly with the live events, just the fact that there's lots of people there sharing the same experience can be so powerful, of course. And yes, in 2020, we've lost that somewhat. But yeah, music can be used in so many ways. You said about singing. Singing can be absolutely great as a way of expressing ourselves, writing songs. And Gemma will tell you all about this as well. The ability for someone to express themselves creatively through music. And sometimes it's easier to put words in a song about how we're really feeling than it is to say those words out in other ways. But it's also the fact that music in itself does things like it changes our state. So if I was to put a piece of music on now, depending upon what genre or what style it is, it will change your state. It might make you more relaxed. It might make you more energized. So it can change our feelings. It can evoke certain certain emotions. And also it can actually change how we're thinking as well. And that could be, for example, the lyrics of a song. So if it's positive lyrics, we'll start to think more positively. If it's negative or disempowering lyrics, we'll start to think more negatively. A little bit like right now in 2020, you know, there's so much negativity around in the press and on social media, and it starts to go into our mind, even if we're not consciously aware of it, and we start to feel a little bit low. So one of the things I do is I use music the opposite way. I write music with empowering lyrics, all with messages such as "you are good enough," "you can overcome your fears," you know, all of those sort of key messages to start to get someone to think a little bit differently, a little bit more positively, and feel better about themselves. So yeah, I could go on, but there's so many benefits and ways that music can be used.
Jemma, presumably this resonates with you.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to know, I don't know if you can share a little bit more about your journey to getting to this point where you decided, actually, I want to combine the two of personal development and music. How did you get to that point?
Thank you. Well, I'll share a little bit of my journey, and this isn't the story that I'm going to discuss later, but basically I found myself in a position where I was unhappy in the job that I had. I was feeling unfulfilled. And one of the key reasons I was feeling unfulfilled was that I wasn't actually pursuing songwriting or music. And I actually went on a course, and I came across a question on this course, and it was, if you were to die today, would you die knowing that you have lived your life fully? And it really was that question that really hit me, and thought, no, you know, I'm not following my heart. I'm not pursuing my passion. So I made a decision there and then to actually step down from a manager's position, reduce my hours at work, and actually pursue songwriting. From there, because I was getting so much more into personal development, to cut a long story short, I started to find that I wanted to write songs that really meant something to me, that really were about my journey, or about those concepts of personal development. So not so much, you know, love songs or about other things. I really found that, you know, the lyrics flowed a lot more easier when I was writing from the heart, writing from the soul, about things that really mattered to me. And then I thought, well, do you know what? There's got to be other people out there who are in similar situations, who are looking for some inspiration, some motivation. You know, sometimes, again, on social media, we see something like a motivational quote, and it can just change our perception. I'm not saying, you know, these are all tools. I'm not saying that you read a motivational quote or you hear a song and then you live happily ever after. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, you know, I started to realize that these things do have some power on people. So I decided, okay, what if I was to write music with that empowerment theme, and then I know that it can help people. And that for me was really the final thing that really sort of pushed me forward, knowing that my music could actually go to good use. It wasn't just people listening to it thinking that's a nice song, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I thought, if I can actually have someone listen to it and they actually get benefits, and knowing sort of the pain that I've sort of felt myself with low self-esteem, low confidence, you know, if I can help people through that, then that's amazing. You know, that's a win-win situation. So, yeah, that was it, really.
Yeah. And what sort of responses have you seen when you might have given talks or shared the music with people? How are you seeing it manifest into the world?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been good so far. I've recently released 3 albums just a couple of months ago. So very much still a case of getting those out there and making people hear them. But no, it's been some very good responses. You know, I mean, someone wrote me an email and said, I've just been playing one of your songs to friends of ours, and their relative, I don't know who it was, a cousin or something like that, has just committed suicide. And she said, you know, we played this song, and just the words of that song was so fitting. And I think it just got that couple to just feel a little bit better and see things in a different light. And, you know, that's amazing. I know someone else who is a healer. He helps people heal. He healed himself from paralysis, and he now helps people heal various health issues, and he focuses a lot on the mind. And he's told me recently he was working with a client, and he was finding that she wasn't really opening up. And he said, right, close your eyes. And he put on one of my songs, and it was called Speak My Truth. And it was all about forgiving yourself and, you know, opening up your heart, speaking your truth. And it allowed her, apparently, it allowed this client to just really feel and be in her heart. And it allowed her to sort of, you know, open up to him and, you know, get benefits from that. So, you know, these are a couple of stories I've had recently that have been really, really nice to know that that's actually happening.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it resonates so much what you're saying about, you know, encouraging people to feel and to speak from their heart. And the fact that you've been able to do that with your music is fantastic. So you must be really pleased about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I certainly am. And where I'm going with it now as well is creating pieces of music which don't necessarily have lyrics, but I'll be talking over the top of them, and they're designed to take people through things like visualization practices and things like that. And again, I've you know, experimented with some of those. Feedback has been great, so that's the sort of area I'm going down a lot more as well. So you know, as you know, Gemma, music can be used in so many different ways, and people can get so many benefits from it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to James' story.
Thank you. Well, my story starts about 3 years ago, and I'm sitting outside of a hall on a stone floor. I'm on a personal development course, and I'm thousands of miles away from home in a hot country. I'm sitting down, cross-legged, with about 70 other people, and we've been told to wait outside this hall, not knowing what's in store for us. It's a personal development course that I know is stretching me through my comfort zone, stretching me both physically and mentally. All of a sudden, the doors open up for this hall, and out walk 2 Asian martial arts instructors. They quickly tell us, quiet, silence, no talking. They tell us that we are to refer to them as masters, and they don't look very nice. They don't look very happy. They look very moody and mean. And they start to pass some pieces of paper out. What is this piece of paper? I received mine. It's a disclaimer. But haven't we already signed a disclaimer? I thought we'd already signed this at the start of the course. So I read through it. It says the usual sort of information, you know, exercise can cause harm, injury, possibly even death. Really? Is this going to happen? What is about to happen next? So we fill this disclaimers out, and they're creating this environment where we're just starting to feel a bit fearful. In fact, I'm getting that fear response, and I feel like I just want to go, you know, running off back to mummy. And in fact, it makes me think back to a phone call I had a few months ago. Yeah, hi mum, it's me. You know that personal development course I went on to? You know, the one where I then spent out thousands of pounds to go on other personal development courses? Well, one of them I'm going to Malaysia. So I'm going to be there for about 5 days. Malaysia? She says, you're mad. I've still got that ringing through my ears. Yeah, maybe you're right, mum. Maybe I am mad. What am I going to do here? Are we going to be breaking through boards? What are we going to do? All of a sudden, the door opens again of the hall, and another guy walks out. This guy's a bit older, again dressed in martial arts outfit. Unlike the other 2, which were dressed in white outfits, he's got a yellow outfit, and he is referred to as the Grand Master. He's got that sort of feeling when you look at him, you know that he's oozing confidence, and he's kind of sneering at us. And he says, "You're going to die in there." And the other instructors actually look a little bit frightened of him. So we go inside the hall. We're asked to very quickly, or told to very quickly, put our bags down at the side, go and sit in rows, sit cross-legged, silently, facing the stage. And we do that. I find that there's lots of other instructors all around the hall as well. And we're sitting there facing the stage. What's going to happen next? And then all of a sudden, from the side of the stage, another instructor dressed in blue actually walks to the front of the stage, sits down, facing us, cross-legged, and closes his eyes as if in meditation. This instructor's got a bald head and a big long goatee beard and really looks the part. He looks like a mean dude. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh no, what is about to happen? The man opens his eyes and he refers to himself as the Sifu, which means the overall master. And he talks to us and he asks us a 5-word question. And this 5-word question is a powerful question, and instinctively I know the answer to it. He asks us again and he prompts us to shout out the answer to this 5-word question. So I shout out my answer. He repeats the question, we shout out again. He repeats the question, we shout out again, over and over again. And by this stage, I've now got tears in my eyes. I look around, am I the only person that's crying here? This is a bit embarrassing. We're now sent off to find ourselves a space in the hall. I go to the back of the hall, maybe I'll stay out of the way there. And we're taken through this warm-up routine, which consists of combinations of punches and kicks and movements to the right and movements to the left. And because I'm up at the back, I can see everybody else. And all these instructors are moving around the hall and making sure we're working hard. And the Grand Master is overseeing it. And every time he's not happy with what we're doing, he shouts out, again. And we go through the routine again. Again. And we haven't quite got it right. Again. And I'm looking at everyone, and in my eyes, everybody else seems to be doing it a bit better than me. I seem to be forgetting what I'm doing. I seem to be bodging it up. And I'm quite frightened of this because these instructors are really coming round and they're shouting at us if we're not getting it right. Eventually, the Grandmaster is happy with what we do. And this is just a warm-up. So we're on to another activity. We get told we have to find partners. I look around and I see someone, a man who's a bit shorter than me. Brilliant. I'll partner with him. That sounds good. And this guy's got glasses on. And we're required to get a big pad, a big martial arts pad. And what we have to do now is we have to take it in turns to do different combinations on this pad. So we start with punches. And we're shown how to do it. We go to elbows, we go to knees, we go to kicks on this pad. And I'm feeling tired by this stage. You can look around and see that everyone is fatigued. People are pretty scared, pretty frightened. We're physically fatigued and we're getting emotionally fatigued as well. We're then told that we've got to take it in turns to exercise, to fight against this pad that our partner is holding at max intensity for 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, and then, have a break, 3 minutes, then have a break, and go up to 5 minutes at 100%. And we start this process. So I'm kicking, elbowing, punching, and kneeing this pad. And I'm starting to force my partner back, and I can see him sort of going towards the wall at the side of this hall. And I think to myself, should I be doing this? Do I need to slacken off? But every time we start to slacken off, the instructors shout at us, motivate us, tell us that we're not good enough. And I start to really punch this pad, and I notice that it's hitting the guy's glasses. And I'm thinking, again, can I hit a man in glasses? But I know that I can't stop. There's thrash metal music blaring out from the speakers. I don't really like thrash metal music, but it's certainly having the effect. I'm certainly feeling motivated and feeling aggressive. But I want to give up. I'm emotionally and physically drained. I'm sweating. There's sweat literally pouring from me. It's like I'm in a shower or something. And I just want to double up in pain. I'm just so fatigued. But the question that the Sifu asked us earlier on is now being asked of us again. The Grand Master is now shouting out that question. And every time he shouts out that question, that 5-word question, we have to shout out our answer. So every time I start to want to give up and lower my head and stop myself from kicking and punching this pad, the Grand Master shouts out that question and I respond, and it motivates you. The question is this: who are you fighting for? And every time he shouts that out, I respond, Ella. Because Ella is my daughter. And when you become a parent, you realise how much you want to protect your children. I remember the first time that we brought Ella back from the hospital, and I'm taking her out in the pram. And as I was on my journey of pushing her around in the pram, I'm looking around just to see if there's any cats or dogs or anything like that that might all of a sudden jump up and try to scratch her or bite her or something like that. You'd do anything for your children. So every time that grandmaster shouts out, "Who are you fighting for?" I'm then fighting for my daughter. I'm not just in that sports hall, in that fictitious scenario. I'm actually there on the street fighting for my daughter. Eventually we get through that task and we're told 12-minute break, no speaking, no talking. Get your drink, go to the toilet. So I rush over and I get my drink and I'm guzzling this water down me. And all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I notice the Grand Master coming towards me. Oh no, what have I done? Have I not done good enough? Did I make some mistakes? Is he going to make me do it again? But I notice him carrying something. And he approaches me and he puts his hands together like in a praying position and he bows to me. And then he hands me this gift. And it's a green belt. It's a green martial arts belt. And bearing in mind, we're not meant to speak. I say, what am I meant to do with it? Am I meant to put it on? Do I put it in my bag? He signals for me to put it in my bag. And I look around. He doesn't seem to be giving it to anyone else. At the end of this whole session, I get to speak to the Sifu on a one-to-one basis. And he asked me, you were one of 2 people out of about 70 that were awarded that belt today. Have you any idea why you were given that belt? I said, no, I don't actually. He said, it was because of the effort that you put in. It was the effort, how you kept going and going and going. It was the effort you put in. So I learnt a few lessons that day. I learnt that sometimes it's not just about the talent that you have, although that is important. It's about showing up. It's about putting in that effort. I learnt that sometimes people see in us what we don't necessarily see in ourselves. That Grandmaster saw a quality in me that I hadn't recognised. I learnt that sometimes we need to push through our fears and overcome our fears to reap the rewards. And also, I learnt the importance of doing something for someone else. And that came from 5 words, which I'm going to ask you now. Who are you fighting for? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I love that. Who are you fighting for? Such a good question. Thank you so much, James, for telling us.
It really is. No problem at all. It's still, it gets me emotional now just to really experience it. There was a lot of other aspects of it, but it really was a life-changing experience, to be honest, that whole process.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it felt as if you put the effort into thinking it through and making it work as a story. So things like we didn't know we were in Malaysia until it became really relevant, because I was thinking, where are we at the beginning of the story? But then it came. And also, you kept the mystery. What on earth's going on here? This is it was weird for you, but at least you travelled there and you presumably signed up for it, so you knew what was going to happen. But we didn't have any idea what was going on at all. And then the 5-word question, and you kept the suspense as to what that was through. Pretty much to the end of the story, and that really kept you listening, because you get to the point where you think, well, if I'd stopped listening, and he's going to say it, and I'll miss it. But that's all. It's holding attention and making it work. So I thought it really works as a very well as a story. You want to add anything to that, Jemma?
Yeah, I think as well is she really brought us into that moment with you. So I felt as if I was, there fighting, doing it's, you brought us into that moment with you, sweating, emotionally drained, all these things, the words that you were using, the visuals, it was all bringing us into that moment with you. And, we were all fighting there with you, if that makes sense.
Lovely, thank you. That's the intention, isn't it? That people can feel that they resonate with the story somehow, and they're in that scene. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. That's good to know.
Yes, and if I'd have been there, would I have won the green belt? Probably not. But it's all there, and and it's great. A mistake people make so often with stories is that they give away the ending at the beginning, or and the wonderful thing about this story is that you hold the mystery as long as you possibly can, and then just reveal enough and then move on. And it's like when you bring in the different coloured people, you got the white robe ones, and then the yellow robe one, and the white robe ones are frightened of the yellow one, so he must be the boss. Then it turns out there's actually another boss, the blue robe. So it's but gradually the picture clears, and that's so it's almost not so much there is progression in time, but there's also progression in space. You're revealing the space as well. And I think that's really brilliant storytelling.
Thank you. Oh, that's really good feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So in the next part of the podcast, we're going to be talking about our inspiration, how we find inspiration, and also sharing something that we've been working on. So, Chris, first of all, what have you been finding this week?
Yes, in a previous podcast, I mentioned Megan Macedo, and I've been doing some work with her over the last couple of weeks. It's the last day of her course about real work, and we were sent a box of prompts, pressed flowers and stones from Northern Ireland, where she was brought up. I mean, she actually lives in London now, and we've been using those prompts to do 7 art projects. We haven't really covered music, sadly, because she couldn't think of anything to put in the box. The saxophone wouldn't have fitted in it. So, but it's been a very interesting journey, and I've certainly discovered a lot of things, and my work has certainly been appreciated by the others on the course, because we share everything on WhatsApp, which is a confusing jumble of all sorts of stuff by now. But I began, the prompt for the first thing was actually the pressed flower, but that was about dunes, sand dunes on the seashore, close to where Megan was brought up. And I thought, and then the challenge was to sort of riff on that on a piece of art. And I thought, well, I don't think there are any sand dunes in Sheffield. If there are, the people have been keeping very quiet about them. But then I thought, but actually this city has been shaped by water, just as sand dunes are. So I did some work on the River Don and the 4 tributary rivers. And the more I got into it, the more fascinating it became, because not only has the water shaped the city, we have 5 rivers and 7 hills, as all Sheffielders will tell you with great pride, just like Rome. But also humanity has shaped the water. And a later project I did was the duck pond that I used to visit when I was very, very young. So I was 5 or 6 with my mother. We went to the duck pond and fed the ducks. And it's one of 6 similar ponds all the way up the River Porter towards its source. And the thing is that you don't notice, because you take it for granted, is that you walk up to the duck ponds. They're above the level of the river, because there actually were the reservoirs that we used to drive the water wheels for the knife grinders. So it's seeing that through the eyes of a 5 or 6 year old, through my eyes as a 66-year-old, 60 years on, but also seeing it as industrial architecture, archaeology as well, and seeing the city in that stratified way in time, but also in space, because when we walk the city streets, there's what we see, but there's also what we don't see. And so I did quite a popular piece about the Megatron, which is this huge archway beneath Commercial Street in Sheffield. So very, very few people have seen it. And it houses the River Sheaf just before it flows into the Don. And it is an absolutely phenomenal piece of architecture and completely invisible. And apart from our urban explorers, you can find it on YouTube and view and there's also great halls beneath Sheffield Midland Station where the River Porter joins the River Sheaf, and great 3 archways that the river flows through, and you can walk through all of these underground passages. So it's that moving through time and space, and that sense of the city. Not only do I grow and develop through my life, so does the city. And it is the posh word for it is palimpsest, where the old buildings get wiped out. For example, after the Second World War, when the whole of the city centre was flattened, and then new buildings are built on top of it, and simple questions like, do you know what was there before your house? Do you know who lived in your house before you did? And it may be possible to pull together, but the key to all of this is remembering, to bring together all these things through time and space, and to try and build a whole, which is what really storytelling is all about.
Yeah. I remember we had the conversation the other day about this, and it brings depth to storytelling, doesn't it? Where you can actually acknowledge the place of where something might be based, and acknowledge there's so many stories within stories as well. Mm-hmm. James, do you have any thoughts about this?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert on buildings and structures and things like that, but absolutely, there's stories in everything that we experience, isn't there? And it's absolutely. I'm not an expert on it. I would probably prefer nature to buildings myself. I think it's important for people to try to work out who they are and what really inspires them and what really makes them feel good. So if I go somewhere like the Cotswolds and I see a load of green fields, that to me is what I prefer. I find that more beautiful than buildings, but other people will find buildings and structures, really beautiful and really clever. And they'll think about all the stories of how was this created? How, who conceived the idea? How many people did it take to build? So absolutely, I think we can be inspired by.
But those fields in the Cotswolds are not natural. Are
they not? Well, you've just.
I'm not quite sure which fields you've got in mind, but the countryside as we experience it itself has been shaped by human beings, or it's more of a dialogue between nature and humanity. Sometimes the dialogue goes well, and sometimes it doesn't go quite so well. I didn't mention when I was talking as well that one of my another term I came up with, which people loved, was anonymous legacy, because we talk a lot in personal development and business about legacy, getting my name remembered so that 50 years after I die, people will still say, "Oh yes, that Chris Sissons was wonderful." That sort of legacy. Hopefully be forgotten after 5 years. But the thing is, out of all the things that I've created as a community development worker over the last 30, 40 years, the thing that's that will last beyond all the other things that I did was it's too small to call a forest, was a spot of woodland in the centre of Sheffield that I created. I got the people together who planted the trees, and we planted whips, just sort of single sticks in the ground. And now, 30 years on, it looks like a mature wood and looks like it's been there forever. Now that's my legacy, but nobody knows it was me. And there are loads of other people who might stake a similar claim to it because they took part in putting it together, but I sort of coordinated the whole thing, so that's why I think it's mine. But others may disagree. But it doesn't really matter, because all those names will never be associated with it, but it is there and it is real. And it looks like nature, except that we all planted it.
Yeah.
But
that's a yeah, go on.
I was just saying, it's this writing and rewriting that goes on from generation to generation.
Yeah.
If I can just say something, I think it's very important. Each and every one of us matters because we all have an effect on other people. And we can't get away from that. We all have an effect on other people, positive or negative. But again, I've spoken about children a little bit. We have an effect on our children, and that will have effect. How we bring them up will have an effect on their children and their children. So it doesn't matter, what we're doing, who we are. Every choice we make, every action we take always has an effect. It's like a ripple effect going outwards. So I think, it's a great point that you make there, Chris.
Yeah. An effect on the earth as well.
Oh, yes.
Like Chris just said, like that they planted those forests, and we can make decisions to either grow things or destroy it. So it's kind of like every decision we make is affecting everything. It's like the butterfly effect, isn't it? Because even just, we might talk to one person and then that might affect them, but then that affects every single person that they know. Because if that person's been affected, then they're going to pass that, whether it's knowledge or whether it's a change in a state, an emotional state, they then bring that to their children, their family, their friends. So, what we say and what we do is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of, I don't know if I'll just... I'll read a bit of what I have, and then I'm going to ask James about yours as well. And then I'll come back to, I don't know if Chris has got something to share also. Did you have something to share also, Chris? Or was that your whole sharing?
That's all I've brought along, yes.
That's okay. That's okay. Just because it kind of leads on a little bit. And then, so I've been reading a book called Diana, the Voice of Change, and it's about Diana, Princess of Wales, or Diana Spencer, and it's written by her voice teacher called Stuart Pearce, and it fits in a little bit with the work that James does in terms of, positive affirmation, positive thinking and speaking. And I just wanted to read a little bit of the affirmations that he worked with Diana on. So I don't know if she wrote these herself or whether this was something that he gave her, but it was interesting for me to read. So I just wanted to share that. I have an ocean of compassion that washes clean any negativity. I have all the qualities I need to be immensely successful. I have wonderful inner potential that will succeed. I have thoughts that are filled with happiness, as happiness means choice. I have courage and stand by my convictions. I am creating all things now to bring about my ultimate good and prosperity. I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. I am a powerhouse, and my soul is indestructible. I am fearless in the face of the divine, and I know I am a spiritual being of vast luminosity. I'm released from all negative habits, and I free myself to the wonder of creation. I'm supported by the universe, and all my dreams manifest as reality.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's just a little snippet of the book, The Voice of Change. So I know, James, you write songs and you write lyrics, and we'd love to hear some of those today if you're able to share that with us, and also anything else that you would like to share or talk about in terms of how do you find inspiration?
Thank you. Yeah, well, the inspiration for me really comes from, like I say, those feelings of not being good enough that I had. And to be honest, still working through. But, if I look at myself, what I was 5 years ago compared to what I am now, it's a total different person in terms of higher self-esteem, higher confidence. So really my inspiration comes from that personal development. My belief is that everyone has a gift that they can share with the world, but a lot of people don't use their gift because they don't feel good enough to be able to do it. So the amount of songs that were unwritten that have been taken to the grave, and they're in the graveyard, the amount of all the best music would be out in the graveyard because people haven't actually gone ahead and written that music. So that was why I wrote the Empowerment Songs albums, which is 3 albums. There's 31 songs. And I worked with a lot of other people as well. I wrote the songs, but there was a lot of other contributors to that. And it was all about us saying we're all using our gifts to work together to get music out there to inspire people. And the idea was that people, yes, would be inspired, would be motivated. And really, it's about saying go out there and make it happen. Don't come up with all the excuses. All of this was done in home studios. We didn't pay out thousands of pounds for big recording studios or anything. It's just a case of going out there and making it happen. And what I'd like to share with you is just some lyrics to the first song on the album. It's called Welcome to the Real Me. And it literally is about me, if you like. But like Chris said about the story earlier, it's not just about me. I'm hoping that these lyrics would resonate with a lot of other people out there. Someone that maybe wants to pursue their passion, wants to do something different. Chris talks about real work, that sort of thing where you want to do, you've got something to say to the world. Maybe you're a little bit afraid of saying it. So if I just read it out, I'm actually going to read it because I never actually remember my lyrics. So this is it. There's an aching inside my skin, a hot feeling that's deep within, a voice telling me to spread my wings and go out there and make it happen. A strong yearning inside my soul, a deep feeling that just won't let go. When I embrace it, it starts to grow because it is love and it is freedom. A giant rising from within my shoes. My inner spirit is being let loose. There's no more hiding. I will face the truth. So let me introduce. And the chorus is, welcome to the real me. I'm a miracle soul. Everything I need to succeed is found within. I play a superstar role. There's a genius inside and a hero under my skin. I'm a beacon of light. I was born with the right to become who I was meant to be. I'm the author that writes the story of my life. Here I am. Welcome to the real me. So that's what I wanted to share today. And I hope that people can relate to that message, resonate with that message. And if I could just actually say, if you are listening to this podcast episode and that has resonated with you, then please take action, do something, whether it's getting in contact with us or, doing something, a bit of research or whatever. Take some action, move yourself forward and use your gift. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to say today.
Thank you so much. I'm going to clap. Woo!
Yeah, yes.
So I thought it was, yeah, go on, Chris.
Yeah, I'm the one here who's not directly involved in personal development, and my focus is more on marketing. But one of the things that I think is the key to marketing is, contrary to what a lot of people think, it's if you're going to make a sale, you really need to show that you understand the problem that the customer has, and understanding the problem is far more important than the solution. And I just wonder, and it's a question to both of you really, do you use music to express the problems that people face and actually show you understand loneliness and hopelessness and things like that, as well as the positive, but both of the things you both just shared are very positive. But I just wonder how effective is that? I'm not sure whether I'm phrasing this question very well. How effective is that compared with not dwelling on the pain, but showing an understanding and an empathy with the pain? How does that work?
It's a great question, and there's two primary motivators in our lives. One is pleasure and one is pain. So it's the good and the bad. We're motivated to move away from pain, and we're motivated to move towards pleasure, and that occurs throughout our life in all decisions that we make. Within my music, I don't know about Jemma, but within my music, within the empowerment songs, one thing I would say is it's not just about the positivity. I don't sort of believe that, Jemma read out some great positive affirmations, and they're great. And over time, that you can retrain your brain from using them. But it's not about saying, oh, everything's all rainbows and unicorns and everything's perfect in my life. No, because you will be faced with challenges. We all are. So I made sure within those songs, and obviously there's different songs with different themes and different lyrics, but yeah, it is about being resilient. There's a song, for example, called Fight. It is about the fact that you will be faced with challenges and you've got to fight. That's actually, I've picked that out, and obviously that's related to the story I shared earlier on as well, isn't it? It is very important that we do acknowledge that there will be fears, there will be doubts, there will be occurrences in our life that we don't necessarily desire. But as long as we accept that that's going to happen, we can then take responsibility, and responsibility is our ability to respond. So we can take responsibility for overcoming it, get round in it, getting through it. So I think you make an excellent point there, Chris, that we do have to acknowledge that things aren't always perfect with us, with situations, etc. And rather than that forced kind of positivity and everything's good, no, that's not quite right. So I think that's an excellent point. Absolutely, yeah. What about yourself, Jemma? Do you sort of do it that way in your songs?
Yeah, I think I really resonate with what both of you were saying, and it was something I wanted to ask you actually, but I didn't know how to phrase it. So Chris did it perfectly.
Neither did I.
So yeah, for me, I mean, I'm trying to think how to speak actually right now about what I'm feeling and what I'm going through in terms of how I've heard what you are saying, because as Chris knows, part of my journey has been a struggle to be heard, or a struggle to get my songs out there, and I don't want it to be a struggle. I want it to be a joy. But what I have done is I've been able to emotionally heal myself. Partly, I'm still going through it, but a few of my songs are actually about that journey. So like a couple of the lyrics that just come to mind are all those songs that live inside you. Maybe you played them to a couple of your friends, or maybe they never knew. The passion, the drive, the love you felt inside is a song I wrote because I'd written so many songs, and a lot of them will go to the grave. I won't be able to sing them all. I will try, but I know that, because I've been writing since I was 5, I'm now 30 years old, and I still haven't got an album. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm planning to invest in home studio. I may invest in outside studio spaces. But for me, I mean, I have let that I don't know if it's fear. I think it's just I really care about, you were saying about like there's a kind of nurturing that I want with the delivery of it, and it's not been as simple as just kind of like going out and doing it. But then at the same time, sometimes it is. And I also have a song about that, which I did perform last year at quite a few events. Get on your dancing shoes and be who you were meant to be. There's no time for excuses. Freedom calls you now to sing. But yeah, I didn't want to make... The thing is, I know I'm a singer-songwriter as well, and I didn't want to make this about me because you're our guest. But obviously, in the podcast, at the same time, part of my role is to share what I'm doing as well. And I think this is an interesting point of looking at things from an abundant point perspective, that we all have gifts. We all have something special to offer. And just because one person, because I could look at you and I could go, well, what's the point of me doing, so someone's already doing empowerment songs and then I might put myself down and go, oh, I haven't got any albums, so I'm not good enough, or da-da. But it's like we all have our, I want to say like ministry, or kind of almost like we have our people that we serve, and we can't serve everyone. So we have to make sure that we're doing our bit, isn't it? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I mean, to start with, all the time that we're thinking, so we're both involved in music. We both write songs. So if we're just thinking, oh, well, each other are competitors, well, that isn't a great way to think about it. What I'm more open to now is, okay, so there's this person. Is there a possibility of collaboration? How can we help each other? How can we support each other? Because together you're stronger. And on that note, what you said as well, and Chris, I'm sure will back me up with his extensive knowledge on marketing, is the fact that, yes, it's about you finding your tribe, because a certain message, a certain unique selling point you will have, and I will have a different unique selling point, and that will resonate with certain people, and that's your tribe. It won't resonate with everyone, and all the time we're trying to please everyone, it won't really work. So if you think about the most powerful people in the world, presidents of the United States, for example, prime ministers, half the people voted for the other guy. You're never going to please everyone. But it's about a case of you finding, it's very pertinent right now, isn't it? But, it's about the case of you finding, what your voice is, and your voice will resonate with certain people. Certain people will resonate with that. But then what you can do is you can combine that with other people, because again, everyone can bring their gifts to the table, and together you can create something that's bigger than any one individual. So I don't know if you've got any further thoughts on that, Chris, but there's some of my thoughts.
Well, I wrote a poem called "What Does a Song Need?" It was a sort of response to one of Jemma's stories. I don't know what I've done with it. I didn't type it out.
I hear it.
It's gone into a pile of scrap paper. I'll have to dig it out. But the four headings were, obviously a song needs lyrics and a song needs music, but it also needs a singer. And if you can't sing your song, Jemma, maybe we can. That's but it needs a singer. And the other thing is a song needs to be heard. Because no one's going to be walking along the streets humming the tune and trying to remember the words if they don't hear it. It's getting that out into the world, in marketing it's called shipping, and getting business people to actually ship is one of the hardest things. What if nobody likes it? Well, how do you know whether nobody likes it if you don't actually put it out there? And so what if someone else sings your song? You've given them the words to sing and the music, and that could be a great gift.
So what Chris is referring to is, because I wrote a song a while back and it ended up in a musical and someone else sang it. So I wrote a story about that the other day. That's why Chris is saying about other people. Obviously, I can sing my songs, but at the same time,
Oh yeah. I'm not saying don't sing your own song. I'm saying there's other options as well.
Yes, there's other options.
Yeah.
There's collaboration is what James was talking about. It's about using your talents and gifts, but also sharing them with other people. And if they have a talent and gift, allowing them to use that.
Mm.
So like you were saying about how you get singers to sing your songs as well. And it's about that sharing, isn't it?
Mm.
It is, absolutely. And I think it's about people knowing where their passions and their gifts lie, because once again, Jemma, I would imagine, I'm assuming based upon what I've heard so far from you from the podcast, your passion, your love and your gift is the creation of that music and the performance of it, the singing and playing piano, etc. That's it. I don't know how much you know about marketing, but that might be where other people fit in, again, using their gifts. So it's like, I often use this as an example. Jemma, you are a piece in the jigsaw puzzle. Chris is a different piece in the jigsaw puzzle. I'm another piece. Together, you can work with people. As long as you slot your piece in the right place, then you get other people working around you, slotting their pieces in the right place. Together, you create that beautiful picture. And again, I will sort of point out, it isn't just that simple, otherwise, again, everyone would get number one hits, etc. It's not a case of being that simple, but I do believe that, yes, sometimes with creative people, we want to create. We want to create. We don't necessarily want to keep marketing it or being on social media and promoting it. That side we see as laborious. So it's sometimes thinking of creative ways to doing that or working with other people that help us through that process. But it's not easy, of course. It's not easy.
And what advice would you give it around getting to that point where you can ask for help with certain things? So if I need help with marketing, or if I need help with or any of our listeners, if they have a song, when I say a song, it might be something else. It might be a speech. It might be a piece of art. But whatever it is that they've got. So let's say there's a listener listening to this and they're sat at home and they're thinking, I've got this song or I've got this piece of work that I want to get out there. What would your advice be to that person?
My advice, and I can't quite see Chris at the minute because his screen's gone a bit funny, so I'm not sure if he wanted to answer this, but my advice would be, I believe that there would always be someone that might be able to help you, because the question to us would be, what's in it for them? So, for example, I call myself the UK's leading empowerment songwriter. I'm certainly not the leading songwriter, not whatsoever. I've created a niche for myself under empowerment songwriting because not many people are doing that. So I've created a niche. I'm still very much working on how to get my songs out there, how to get the message out there, etc. But what I did was, again, I was on the lookout for other people that would benefit from this opportunity. So who did I know that would benefit from being part of this album? And that's what I started doing. It all started off with a social media post. It started off with me contacting a few people that I knew were singers or musicians. Some of them came on board, others didn't. But from there it rolled out and I ended up with 24 contributors from around the world. A couple of people from America, some people from Europe. And I think that's it. There's always someone else, but it's kind of what's in it for them. Can you find a way that they would get benefit as well? I think this podcast is a prime example because it's not a one-person podcast. You're both working together, talking about your own businesses. Again, it's a collaborative approach. You're both getting certain benefits out of it, and that is giving the listener more benefits as well. So I think the more you can look for those win-win-win situations, there'll always be someone out there that is willing to help you. It might be that they align to your mission, they align to your values. They'll get certain benefits through working with you. Find out what that is. Have a little think, and there will be people out there. Just put a post up on social media or something like that. I don't know, Chris, if you've got any other tips in regards to that.
Yeah, I think there's two stages, because if it's your real work, it is not for others. It's for you. You need to. You need to find your real work and do it. But then the next step is, okay, now I've got this thing, how do I get it out there into the world? How do I launch it into the world? And there may be a group of people out there who really appreciate it, and finding them may be really important. So my experience over this last 2 weeks, just doing the course with people from all over the world, looking at my ramblings about Sheffield, and the things that they've liked have really surprised me. I mean, last night I wrote a poem about fish and chips, and it's called "What the Heck is a Fish Cake Anyway?" because fish cakes are major contention in Sheffield, and I've had some very positive responses to that, which in a way is a very light and humorous sort of account of a journey to a fish and chip shop, and warnings about things like skate and pickled eggs and so on, but also explaining what actually is a fish cake, because it's not what you think. So, I've got so far a couple of responses to that, and it's surprising. The only people who can tell you whether your work's any good is not you, other people. Yeah. And if you get pelted with rotten tomatoes, at least you know that wasn't any good, or you've not found the right people. But mostly people want to be supportive. Yeah, and this thing might not work, but the next thing might. And to get to the next thing, you might need to go through this thing. So, your real work is the work that's worth doing, even if it fails. Keep going. Yeah, that's that going back to that message of effort. Anyway, Jemma, were you going to sing something or do something?
I can do. I mean, I shared a little bit of the songs, but I'm just trying to think which one. Okay, I'll just.
Because I was thinking you could sing us out.
Yeah, okay. So this one is called. It fits on theme with everything. I just wanted to say thank you so much, James. You've been an absolute amazing guest. And this is it's so relevant for me and probably so many other people. I think the work that you're doing is really needed. Okay, this song is called Extend Love, and it is about what we've been talking about, meaning getting yourself out there, singing your song, and extending it to other people. So I'm just a snap. Sometimes I've worried if I've come across too much, 'cause I'm in such a hurry to have love be my one trust. But it seems there is something that I need you to know. So let's put aside our judgments so we can just flow. Oh, put on your dancing shoes and be who you were meant to be. There's no time for excuses. Freedom calls you now to sing, release it all. You will find you have everything. You are a star. It's in your heart. Extend love through art.
That's great.
Woo!
Okay. Yes.
Brilliant. Well done, Jemma.
Thank you. And of course, listen to James's songs as well. We'll put the links in the podcast.
Okay. So that just about wraps it up for today.
Yeah.
So thank you, James. Thank you, Jemma. Thank you, Chris. Right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you ever so much.